Hi guys, welcome to a new knitting podcast. My name is Claudia and welcome here on Claudia's Knits, where I talk mostly about my colorful knitting and all the beautiful yarn that I collect and, well, buy regularly. I have my coffee with me and a pot of tea, so I'm really excited to film a new episode for you to update you on my projects, because it has been a while again. Like, life is happening and work, I'm a teacher by the way, work is crazy, but also in my private life I'm doing lots of fun things that take away a little bit of my knitting time. But now it's starting to get like turning to fall and I really want to knit some more. And actually I have knitted quite a bit. I've started 2 new projects since last episode. So I have 3 whips in total, and one of those projects is, well, nearing the finish already. And I do have some new yarn, because a couple of weeks ago I was at the Breidagen in Nijkerk, which is a yarn festival here in the Netherlands. I was helping my friend Fem from TheMindfulCreators out, so I took some yarn, of course, with me home, and I'm really excited to start a project. But I also like more monogamous knitting, so I'm really hoping to finish one project soon, so that I only have 2 whips and maybe I can start a new one. And I really want to update you, and not that I have a whole cardigan finished in between 2 episodes. So before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing. I'm wearing cardigan number 8 by my favorite things Knitwear, which is probably one of my most worn and most loved knits that I ever made. I really like this, and I just put this on for this video for the first time this season, and I was like, yeah, I want to wear this. So this is a V-neck cardigan, really cropped, as you can see, oversized, drop shoulder. I think I made a size large, that's what I would guess, with some quite straight sleeves. I used Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool for this in the color marzipan, and I held that together with Rico Make It Tweed, which, that scared me a bit, which are all these colorful speckles. So I really enjoy how colorful and fun and happy this is, but also it's a neutral. Like, I think for you this feels like a neutral, so that's my vibe. My vibe is also bright colors. So let's get started with the first whip, which is really brightly colored. It's pink, my favorite, you know that. This is the Vienna Blouse by Sandnes Garn, and I was eyeing up this pattern, like I really want to make this pattern ever since I saw it on Instagram or Ravelry, I don't know anymore. But it's made with mohair, firstly, and I don't like mohair. I don't like how itchy it is on me, but also how the fluff and the hairs get everywhere. Like, if I would wear a t-shirt underneath it, then the t-shirt would be, for me, it feels dirty and ruined with all the fluff that I don't really get out with washing. No. So I'm using a different yarn, of course. Sandnes Garn sells their patterns in little booklets. So fortunately for me, a friend got the booklet with this pattern in it. So I'm able to make this. So it's a cardigan. It looks really cropped, but it's almost done. It has tapered sleeves, and as you can see, it has a peplum. So it is one of those cardigans where with the bow ties, the I-cord bow ties, a couple of them, and then it fans out below the waist. I really like that style. I will try this on in a bit, but first let me tell you about the yarn. So the pattern calls for 2 strands of Sandnes Garn thin silk mohair held together on a 3.5mm needles. Well, I had this yarn in stash, which is Istex Kambgarn, which is 100% merino. I don't think it's superwash, but I think it is treated. It's not non-superwash wool, if you know what I mean. It doesn't really feel the same. This is a sport weight yarn, I believe 50-gram ball is 150 meters. And I'm using needle size 4.5, which is like way up for the pattern. That's unusual for me. Normally I need to go down needle sizes. And I use this yarn for my tea number 1, which I showed you in the last episode. And in that project I really didn't like the fabric in the end because it was way too tight and too stiff of a fabric. So now I really wanted to make it a lot looser, so it is a little bit more drapey and it flows a bit more. I feel like it's a little bit more see-through. It could have been more see-through, I think. I maybe could have gone up to needle size 5, but I believe I'm on gauge now, so that's also a nice thing if you're knitting something and you're on gauge. And then for the construction of this cardigan, which is a little bit different than I'm used to, which I really liked. I mean, I consider myself quite an experienced knitter. I haven't done any color work yet, but I have done structured and cables and different kind of constructions and short rows on different places of the knitwear. But it is fun sometimes to do something new. It keeps me a little bit more engaged and excited to knit on it. So you cast on a whole row of stitches and then you shape the shoulders first. So not the back, just the shoulders. So you count out where the saddle shoulder is, and then you do short rows around that saddle shoulder. So I don't know if I can show you this. Maybe if I'm doing it like this. So here you have one saddle, and then you do the short rows all the way around, back and forth with some increases, and that shapes this rectangular thingy. And if you have done that part, which is like that semicircle thing, you knit to the other shoulder and you do the same, and you shape that, and then you go back and forth between those shoulder parts, just straight down, and in the end you do some increases around the armhole edge. You leave that on hold. The stitches from the saddle are on hold, and the stitches that are left on the front are on hold. So if you've done the back, then you go further with the stitches that are on hold in the front. You knit that straight down and you do some increases for the armhole, also on the other side, and then you join in, well, I want to say in round, but it's a cardigan. Then you join under the arm, you pick up some extra stitches or cast on some extra stitches, and you do the length straight down. Then I started quite quickly with the sleeves, because the sleeves determine so much with how a garment will sit on my body. It weighs down a little bit more, but also the shoulders drop more. So I think it's important to do at least one sleeve or part of both sleeves before I determine the length. For the sleeve, you pick up stitches along the sides, and the stitches from the saddle shoulder thingy are on hold, so you knit those and you do the back. And one thing with this pattern is, like if you knit this straight down and you do the front or the back portion, it just says knit for an X amount of centimeters. I really don't like that, because I want to know exactly how many rows I need to do. So of course you need to do the same amount on the front and the back, but you can like make a note of that. But then when picking up the stitches, it just said pick up an X amount of stitches. It didn't say on what rate I needed to pick it up, but it suggested that there are an X amount of rows in this part. But if on one part of the pattern you say an X amount of centimeters, like let's say 15 centimeters, and the next part of the pattern you say, oh, it needs to be 40 rows, well, why don't say 40 rows? I don't really get that. So I, anyways, to determine my pickup rate, I just did every 2 out of 3 stitches for the straight parts. And I think also for this, and I just winged it. Maybe I have 10 stitches left and less than the pattern said, but that doesn't really matter. I like it to be a little bit more snug or like cinched in because the armhole was quite deep. I would have liked a bigger braid, but I know from previous projects that 2 out of 3 is quite a normal weight for the sleeve, and I got it the first time, so I was really happy with that. The finishing on the arms but also on the peplum is the same basically as the T number 1, which is funny. So you knit a bit, then you do a purl row, you knit some more, and then the pattern calls for binding it off, like casting it off and then sewing it together. I did the knit at the same time and casting off, and I also used a smaller needle for this, for the hem, because I really like the neat and clean finish that it gives. The pattern just uses 1 needle size for the whole project, but I did the body on 4.5 and I think the hem on 3.25 even. I really like how this looks, but it fans out a bit, so hopefully with blocking that will straighten out. And now I'm working on the peplum, and I don't know if I want to do the same on the peplum, because when you finish the length for the back, the torso portion for the body, you need to cast off all the stitches and then pick up new stitches. I think the reason for it is that you have a seam on the inside, and seams make it a lot more sturdy. With the picked up stitches, then you need to knit back and forth, but also increase every stitch on your first row. So the peplum has twice as many stitches as the upper part of the project, which makes for more weight, and the weight, English pronunciations. And it already gave me a problem, because I tried it on where did I need it to start the peplum, and ideally you want that to be in your waist. It is a little bit of a more oversized cardigan, but you still want to aim it at your waist. So I did that, and then I started working on the peplum, which is almost 500 stitches back and forth. So yes, also purling. Thank God, I really don't mind purling. But this little bit took me quite some time. It's really bunched up on the needles, but of course 500 stitches, that's a lot of room. And it weighed it down so much that when I tried it on, the peplum, like that line was already hitting my hip. So I have a photo of that, so maybe I will insert that. And then I was really bummed because I really didn't want to undo all the peplum work, all those 500 stitches for 10 centimeters and all the hours, and doing that again. So was it last night? No, the night before, I did some surgery on this, and that was the first time I picked up stitches here around the seam. I picked some stitches up 6 centimeters above that. I cut it loose, unraveled the part in between, and crafted it together with a Kitchener stitch. So that was quite a little bit terrifying, but it worked just fine. And I really don't feel like you can see all that much that I have crafted this together. And that was the first time for me doing that. And I did that across like almost 250 stitches. But doing that felt less work than redoing the whole peplum. And it really was. It was just one night's work. I do have a little hole here that I need to sew together. I don't know how that happened, but anyways, in the end, you won't see that. So let me just try this on real quick. And you can see a little bit more what I'm talking about. Now I'm quite excited to get this finished. I'm a little bit scared with how much work the I-cord edging is. But it's really hard to show this project with this on the needles and without the I-cord, because all the edges curl up. So here you can see the sleeve or the shoulder portion. And as you can see now, this hits my waist. My waist is here. So it hits just maybe a centimeter above my waist, but I'm counting on it, the weight, dragging it down still a little bit more, and also with blocking. I just am a little bit bumped, but that's just my body issue, that the portion between the armhole and the peplum is like really like 7 centimeters. I feel so tiny, but I have a really short torso, short back. So this is like straight here. This will go close a little bit with cute ties up till here. And then you have the peplum. I really should have gotten it on a bigger cable, but I was lazy and I really wanted to film this. So use your imagination a little bit. And then the sleeves, a whole lot of decreases, and it tapers nice and slow. I think it's a little bit shorter sleeve, so I'm hoping it will grow with blocking, but I'm sure it will. I really like this finish, and I don't really know if I want to do the same finish on the body, because I think that takes up quite a lot of yarn, but also like doing the extra work of extra 2 centimeter knitting that you are not able to see, and also sewing it down while knitting for almost 500 stitches. I don't know if I'm crazy enough to do that. Maybe I will do an I-cord bind off. You just want to prevent it from curling up. So I'm not really sure. Also, I only have this plus 1 skein of yarn left. I had 9 skeins. So taking out that 6 centimeters, that's this ball of yarn right here. I think I'm going to save this for the I-cord edges, but maybe I need to count out how much yarn I need for that. Maybe do one of the ties, measure out how many centimeters that is, how much yarn that is, how many grams, and I can make an estimate. But I know that 1 skein of 50 grams for the peplum is about this much. So I have 1 full skein and this, which is almost half a skein. And I would like, well, ideally I would like double the length of the peplum. So I want to use up all the yarn that I have left for this and get as much length as I possibly can. So maybe an I-cord is also a great option because of that. So yeah, that's my first project. I talked quite some time about this, not my usual style, but I'm happy. I hope you understand this, but next time I want to have this finished. Like I said, I'm rather hyperfixate on this project, so I can start a new one. I'm cold, so I'm getting this on again. And let's get started with my next whip. And I'm switching to my tea. Next project isn't new. It's my really happy yellow storm sweater by Petiteknit. So I'm not sure, but I think last time I started this and I did the back portion. Maybe I was working on one of the fronts or both. I'm not sure. Anyways, this is such a cute sweater by Petiteknit. This is my second one actually. It says a lot about how much I like this pattern, like the look of the sweater. It is a drop shoulder all over textured sweater, and I'm working on the body. As you can see, 1 sleeve is finished and the neckline is already done, and I started the second sleeve. So construction wise, you start at the back and you do some increases while in pattern. So the first panel has all these different dots. It's a little bit hard to see on this yarn. Then you have 2 purl rows, then a broken rib, purl rows, this diamond-ish shape thing, purl rows, diagonal stripes, purl rows, and then you start again. So there is a 4 like sections for one block. So you do the increases over here, then it's straight down with, I believe, a little bit of shaping down here that you do. Yes, I think so. Do I do that? Yes. It's been a while. Then you leave the stitches on hold and you go to the front. You pick up stitches from the shoulder. Well, actually it's a little bit on the back over here. You do those purl bumps and you start the same things, but you also increase for the neckline and then in the end for the armhole. If you've done both sides, you join in the front, and if that is long enough, you join it around for the body. And then it's just working your way through all the sections for the length. But working in these sections is really motivating, because sometimes I really want to finish one whole section that day, that evening, that knitting session. On the body it takes quite a while, to be honest, but on the sleeves, whoa, that goes quick. So you pick up stitches, you start with the purl bumps, and then you do all those sections. And the nice thing about this pattern is that the decreases are written in the chart. So you know exactly where you need to decrease, and then all the patterns flow quite nicely on the inside of the sleeve. Because that was one of the things that I really didn't like about the Ingrid sweater from Petiteknit. I still think she needs to redo that part of the pattern. I mean, I think it would be great. But for this one, I mean, this one is not 100% perfect, but most of them flow quite nicely. So that's really what I like. Big ribbing, and it's quite snug. For the neckline, you pick up stitches. It's a double folded neckline with some double knitting in the middle. I really like the look of that and the feel of that. But I do have to say, it is a little bit snug, and that's mostly my fault. The yarn that I'm using is Drops Flora, which is a fingering weight yarn, like 50 grams is 210 meters. It is a blend of alpaca and wool, and I really like this yarn of Drops, using 2 strands together. And the color name, by the way, if you want to know, is 26. So love the color, like how it feels. It is a little bit itchy on my neckline, but I'm really sensitive. But because this is a pattern, I'm knitting way tighter than I normally would, and I made it a little bit too tight. So I already blocked this. You can see that I blocked the body, and I believe the first 2 sections of the sleeve, and then this is looser. This isn't blocked yet. But the good thing about that was estimating how long the sleeve needs to be. And because this is knitted way tighter than my previous version of the storm sweater, which I really enjoyed, I knitted that one in Sandnes Garn Double Sunday. Those sections are like so much wider, so much bigger than this one, that I'm able to do the whole pattern like the pattern suggests, the whole section. Because I know from the other version I had to omit one to make length, if you know what I mean. So I can try this on for you. Yes. So blocking really helped, and it did grow a bit, which it needed to be. I'm knitting in size medium for this one, because, and I mentioned this many times before, in this pattern the medium and the large are the same, except for the length. But the circumference, the finished measurements for the chest thingy is the same. So I'm making a medium because I want as less length as possible for me. So as you can tell, I really had to pull this over my head. It is quite snug and it hasn't all that much room. And as you can see, I do have some room. Fortunately, this pattern calls for 25 to 30 centimeters of positive ease. Well, 20 centimeters would be fine, but less than 20 centimeters, I think you lose the feel of this, the coolness of this sweater. So I like how this fits, how it fits with the sleeve and the pleat that it makes. The only thing I don't really like but I'm not going to rip this out, is that I feel it's a little bit snug on my shoulder here. So I like how it folds in the back, but just this upper part is more snug than I would like. So this bit. But yeah, I can't do anything about that anymore. And like I said, I didn't want to rip it out because I blocked this with only one sleeve a little bit done, but the body for this part, and it took so much time already, and I really like now how it looks. So that's my tip. If you're hesitant about the fit and you're doubting if you want to rip it out or anything, block it mid-project, because I think now it will work. Like if I sit like this, it looks like a finished sweater. So yeah, I haven't been working on this for a week and a half now, I think, because the pink one took over. But I'm really excited to be able to wear this because I really like the color. It's not like a full winter color per se, but you need to bring some brightness in the dark days, don't you? So I don't know what else I can say about this project, except that I really like it. And now that I see it like this, I'm like, yeah, I want to finish this. I also want to start a new one. So that's my storm sweater by Petiteknit in drops Flora. And now, only one project left, which is a small one. These two projects are getting way too big for on the go or just putting it in my bag. So I wanted to start a new one, and also I want to work with this yarn. I had one skein of Wildflower. This is Bouncy DK from my friend Fem from TheMindfulCreators, and this is such a stunning hand-dyed yarn with all these beautiful speckles like the orange, the red, the purple, the pink, the green, the blue. Is there blue? Well, it's more of purple, but oh, I love this. It reminds me a little bit of this, but it's different. And I bought one skein when this color came out with her Dream Mill Spring collection back in the spring. 2 skeins of fingering weight, which I still want to work up to a project, don't know what yet. And 1 DK weight because I want to make a honey wash bag. And this is what I have so far. So it's really tiny, but this is how that yarn knits up. So again, it has a neutral base with rainbow colored speckles. It is sort of the same, but also sort of really not. And I really like how this looks. So I'm working on the bottom of the bag. I already made the honey clutch, which is a smaller version. 2 of my friends already made the wash bag, and now, well, I really want to make this. So I'm almost, I believe, at the length of the bottom of the bag, and this is double knitted, so it's nice and sturdy and tight. I'm using 2.5mm needles with like a plush plump DK is quite tight, but for a bag you really need that. You want this to be sturdy. And if I have the length, then I know I need to pick up stitches all the way around and start the honeycomb stitch. And I know I really need to re-watch the videos of Petiteknit, like Kimmy Monkholm makes those videos. Those are really, really, really helpful. So I really want to do that. And this is the skein that I'm using, the cake. I just love this. So hopefully a little bit here and there I can work on this, but this is a kind of project that takes quite slow for me because, well, double knitting, I don't know about you, but especially this tight isn't all that comfortable for my fingers. And also with a honeycomb stitch, that is a 4-row repeat. So you do on the right side 1 row, and you turn it inside out, and you do on the wrong side a row, and then the right side and the wrong side. That is one repeat. So I know from my previous version, I really want to do like 1 4-row repeat, maybe 2, and then it's just enough for that knitting time. And I don't want to stop in between somewhere in those rows, because then it gets a little bit hard to understand where you're at and picking it back up. So to transition into my new acquisitions, when I was knitting this up and I only had done like this much, I fell back in love with this yarn color. And I said to Fem, and I was working while we were driving to the Breidagen, where I was helping her, and I said, Fem, I really want a sweater with this. And I've been coming to her little yarn dyeing studio for a while now, and she has this beautiful wall of her yarn skeins, and there were a couple of skeins of this Wildflower left, and those were eyeing me up for so long that I said, I want those, I'm going to buy them from you. So I already bought at the fair, because she had them with her, the 3 skeins, and because she is such a good friend, she's going to dye me up some extra. She doesn't sell this color anymore, so sorry for you. She has beautiful other color yarn, and maybe she will do some other speckles. But I'm going to make a sweater with this. I'm going to make the Monday sweater probably by Petiteknit. I have made that pattern before twice with hand-dyed yarn, but both of the times with fingering weight yarn. And actually the pattern is for DK weight. And because this is hand-dyed yarn, I really want to alternate skeins with helical knitting, and then a raglan sweater is easiest. Is easier than a drop shoulder, because for a drop shoulder you need to do knitting back and forth like a straight portion for quite a bit. So to keep it safe, I'm doing a simple raglan, and then the Monday is just such a staple. I know that pattern works well, so I'm going to make that not anytime soon probably, but I'm really excited because this, well, this screams my name. Like bright pink and bright yellow screams my name, but also neutral with a colorful twist. So I'm really excited about that. And that was my first yarn purchase of the day. But then at the end of the day, at the end of the market, we were walking around and looking at the other stalls. To be honest, I don't really want to buy more hand-dyed yarn. I have quite a lot of hand-dyed yarn already from Fem. She makes the most beautiful yarn that is such a good quality that I don't feel the need to buy more from other vendors, but I do really like commercial Scandinavian yarn. So there was a booth which sells Isager, and I haven't used Isager before. I have 2 skeins in my stash for another Washbag, and one of the girls that was working there and selling the yarn, she was wearing the Esther jacket, and Fem was like, that jacket is looking at me. She wanted to try it on, so we both did try the jacket on in the middle of that festival, and yeah, we both fell in love a little bit because it's such a beautiful staple. The Esther jacket is patterned again by Petiteknit. You know, I love my Petiteknit patterns. It's just good written patterns and nice staples, and I like the modern oversized look. I didn't really like the Esther jacket on like Petiteknit herself on her photos, because she is really like petite. She doesn't fill up her garments all that much. So when you see it in real life, on my own body especially, I really liked how it looked, like how the pattern, because that's a structured, textured cardigan as well, with a round neck, 5 buttons, I believe. I also bought the buttons. I forgot them for now, but it doesn't matter. And it was too long for me, but also a little bit too small, because she was wearing a size extra small. Well, you know me, I'm not an extra small curly. Most of the time I knit a size large, but now I'm going to knit a size medium. I bought the same amount of yarn that you need for an extra small, but since my body is way shorter and you need to crop it like 15 to 20 centimeters, I'm estimating that it will provide me with enough yarn for the width, because it couldn't, like, it gaped open at the bottom because it was too narrow, because that's really a straight cardigan and it isn't as oversized as this one. Long story short, I bought the Istex yarn for that pattern. It's the yarn that Petiteknit suggests in her pattern, and I'm really excited. So you start with Jensen. I mean, this looks really cool. It's quite a rough, dry texture. And that makes it more of a jacket than a cardigan, but with a nice t-shirt underneath this. I'm going to wear it as a cardigan as well. It is 100% pure new wool. It's made in Denmark. 100 grams is 250 meters. So this is a DK. And then you hold it together with 2 strands of Highland wool by Istex, which is also 100% wool. And 50 grams is 275 meters. So this is what you call a light fingering. Maybe doesn't feel like lace weight. So you do 2 strands of this, 1 strand of that, and I believe you knit it on 5mm needles. The girl was wearing it in white. Fem bought like a whole bag of the yarn in white, and I'm going to knit along with her. Fem already made the back portion of the yoke and started on the front. So I really want to start this to catch up. But yeah, I feel like if I start this project, then I'm not going to finish my other projects. So I'm almost there, then I can start this. And at work we have our first fall, how do you say that? Fall holiday break, fall break. So I have some knitting time then. And then lastly, last week or this weekend I was in Utrecht and I went to the yarn store Stitch and Cups. Never went there, been there before, but it was really nice and quiet, and there's a whole wall of knitting for olive yarn, and knitting for olive in the wild is so special because I have only seen it in stores in Copenhagen last year, and for the other times I need to buy it online, and I think it's such a beautiful luxe brand. It isn't that cheap. For like small projects, I think it's really doable, but I think I was more than a half an hour in that store, maybe 3/4 of an hour, and thinking I want to make a sweater or a cardigan with it. I want to make the Soline cardigan by Moroccan Knits, but I wasn't sure about the gauge, wasn't sure if I wanted to use mohair, like a good quality, then the sweater would be expensive, but I don't know if I want it. I'm going to hit the gauge. So in the end, I went for a small project. I bought 3 skeins of the merino in poppy blue. This color, well, it speaks to me for quite some time now. I've been eyeing this up because it's such a bright and happy blue. I mean, it matches my eyes quite well. I get blue eyes when I'm wearing blue. And I know that 3 skeins is enough for a summer top, like a camisole number 9 type thing. And I made a camisole number 9 in merino, and I love the quality of that. The fabric is so beautiful. So I thought I can make a cardigan or a camisole with it, but also I can make like a hat, an Oslo hat or a weekend hat with this. And like this blue as a hat, so fun. And if I want to make a matching mittens or a scarf, I can always buy some more of this colorway. But for now, it was also a little bit because I was taking so much time in that store and I didn't want to leave empty-handed. But I'm happy with this. It's not really a wintry color. It makes me so happy. It feels like springy, but I need that a little bit in my life. So I'm not sure when I'm going to knit something with this, but this feels versatile for me. Could be a summer project, could be a winter project, who knows. And with that, I'm at the end of this video. This is all I've been working on, except for like a couple of rows on the sock. I really want to work on my sweet shop blanket, but that will be a long-term thing as well, because I'm really excited for some new projects. I'm also eyeing up Sandnes Garn Peer Gynt in a dark chocolate brown. Not cacao nibs, but the other dark brown color that's a little bit cooler toned. And I'm seeing myself in a dark brown sweater. And I was contemplating that color and that yarn for the Soline cardigan. The Soline cardigan is a cardigan with those ties as well, but without the peplum, more of a clean finished look. But I don't know if I like blue jeans, white t-shirt, brown cardigan. That feels maybe a little bit too boring of a color palette for my taste. I think it looks great, it looks chic on other people. For me, I want more color in my life. So maybe more of a brown sweater. But what color do I want the Soline cardigan? I don't know yet. Anyways, I'm rambling. I'm going to let you go. I need to go myself as well. I really hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.